Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to everyone for the second half of the second day of Triple M 2020. The speaker for today's afternoon session is Dr. Sheetal Chiddarwar. So let me introduce about Madam. Dr. Sheetal Chiddarwar is specialized in robotic motion planning, machine vision, artificial intelligence, adaptive control. She has done her BE from VRC, presently VNIT Nagpur, and Masters from Nagpur University. She has completed her PhD in robotic motion planning from IIT Madras. Madam has large experience of 10 years of teaching experience. She teaches manufacturing process automation, industrial robotics, machine vision and its applications. Artificial intelligence to the undergraduate students as well as the postgraduate students. She has published more than 15 journals in SCI reputed journals and 47 international conferences, and she has published 3 books in her credentials. Dr. Sheetal Chiddarwar is a member of the Association of Machines and Mechanisms, IEEE, Robotic Society of India, IIIE, and ISTE also. She has completed her DST Fast Track project and Center of Excellence Humanoid project also. She has filed 9 patents with her students and 1 is granted. Dr. Sheetal Chiddarwar has guided 5 PhD students and there are currently 3 students pursuing under her guidance. Madam has completed 20 plus master students and 40 plus undergraduate students in the projects. Currently, she mentors IB Labs, Innovation Labs at VNIT Nagpur, a unique robotics and artificial intelligence lab of the institute. Currently, she is the Associate Dean for International Relations and NIRF ranking at VNIT Nagpur. So now I will hand over the session to Madam, and she will be talking about her experiences on like monitoring aspects. And Madam, you have 1 hour 15 minutes, and 15 minutes we'll keep for the audience queries. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for introducing. I'll share my PPT with you. So good afternoon, everyone. This is the topic of today's presentation, bird detection and trajectory planning using image processing for robotic deburring. So majorly the focus of this workshop is on usage of MATLAB for manufacturing. So I'll try to combine all the aspects we discovered while implementing robotics for manufacturing and how we used MATLAB for this purpose. This work is done by my student. She graduated in 2017, Miss Rohini. She was MTech CAD/CAM student, and she has done a wonderful. So first of all, bird detection and trajectory planning. So for this purpose, we should understand deburring operation. Deburring operation is very common in all the manufacturing industries, where we are removing burrs from the manufactured part. These burrs are getting generated due to cutting operation, due to machining. Even during casting, you will be seeing multiple burrs are being formed. If we don't remove these burrs, then the fitment of the sub-assemblies will not happen. Parts will not be assembled properly, and the edges will be rough. So, in order to ensure that the edges are smooth, we need to carry out deburring. How it is done in current scenario? There are 2 ways. One is manual method where there is a vibratory tool given to the operator. utilizes his vision as well as understanding about the product, and then he carries out deburring. So just by visual observation, he understands where there is a burr, how much it should be removed, and based on that, he moves the tool. Now, these tools are vibratory tools, so that burr should be removed. These vibrations are so bad that they get transferred to the entire body of that operator. So you can see these operators vibrating along with the tool when they carry out deburring. Second method of deburring is using grinding wheels. So you have to use these grinding wheels and remove the burr. So these flanges which are generated during casting are mostly removing these grinding wheels. Second application you can do, you can implement a robot, attach some very good deburring tools to it, and you can program it to remove the burrs. But you know that burrs are not uniform over entire surface of the object. They will vary. The geometry of the object is same, the product is same, right? The process followed to manufacture that product is same, but the amount of burr getting generated is very, very dynamic in nature. We cannot predict about it. So what robotic deburring does, it removes a specific amount of burr from the surface or from the edges. And then whatever burr is remaining, that is removed manually. It means that manual intervention is necessary. We got idea about this project when we are in Jamshedpur. There they carry out everything manually, and the kind of byproduct of this deburring are very dangerous. The byproduct means the chips will be coming out, and this fine dust will also come out after removing the burrs. This fine dust goes directly, is inhaled by the operator, and then we also came to know that people are getting sick because of that, and it causes some lung disorder. So to assist human being and to remove to reduce the exposure of such dust particles, there is a scope we can go for robotic deburring. But the deburring being used now is semi-autonomous, you can say, because human intervention is required. So with this background in mind, go for a complete automatic deburring process. And our objective was deburring of small parts and not the big parts. Because big parts can be easily handled using autonomous systems, whereas small parts deburring becomes costly if we go for autonomous systems. So we wanted to have a simple system for that. Now this project is done in 2017, long back, and it was incepted in 2014 for her master's work. So 6 years prior, we thought about it. Now we are realizing that this particular problem is so intense and needs loads of intervention. Whereas many industries they don't pay much of focus on this particular problem because they think finishing operation, and we do have ample human being or human power available. They can be utilized for this purpose, right? However, those who are thinking like they should safeguard human being from hazards and also improve the productivity, they can always think about such kind of solutions. So this particular problem is a very good example of Industry 4.0. We are developing a cyber physical system. So we do have a robot here, which is a physical system, and all the actions to be performed by robot are programmed to it. The program is in position to decide how much deburring is to be done based upon the current scenario. This current scenario comes from the object. I told you, whenever we are carrying out deburring of size, burr dimension, or burr location will not be fixed. It will be varying from product to product. So system designed in such a way that whatever may be the variability in the burr size, burr location, or burr dimension, it can take care of it. So there is no human intervention, like they do not, nobody should go near to the robot. They can remotely control the robot, program the robot. If some troubleshooting is required, then it can be done. But human being need not stand besides the robot. Whatever trajectory or path planning is to be done, that will be done by the algorithm. So you know that a burr is defined as an undesirable effect generated at the edge of workpiece. So here our motivation is machining process and not the casting process. For casting, you know different techniques are required, but for machining, the burrs are manageable. So apart from casting, during forging, sintering, welding, cutting, plating, drilling, for all the applications, if you see, the burrs will be generated at the edges. And that is a hindrance for assembly, as well as we cannot ensure the sharp edge. And if my operator is handling such objects whose deburring is not done, then there is a chance that it will cut their finger. So to avoid injury to the operator, we have to ensure that deburring is done. So during study, we realized that 5 to 10% of total man hours required in any industry are spent over the deburring of. Then quantity and quality both are important. And this kind of robotic system is mainly for the uh, medium size of the batch, low to medium size. So if there is a variability in the product, that also can be very well handled. So we can think about the automation of this deburring process. Then the major concern behind this study was the operator safety. We couldn't see those people getting suffered because of the vibrations and then the dust particles. We both felt, me and my student felt suffocated when we were there in that shop. It's like how they can do like this. And they were saying we are doing it from last 7 years, 8 years, 10 years in this fashion only. There is no change in the process at all. So these safety issues, yes, they are important. There are provide mask and all, but now you know how difficult it is to wear a mask 24/7. We are facing that issue now. So from that perspective also, we thought if we can automate this kind of process, then it will be very, very useful for the operator. So this leads to the requirement of more flexible device which can identify burr. Identification is important. When human being is doing, he uses his eyes. He can guess what is the thickness, what is the location, what is the size of the burr. So entire geometry of the burr as well as location of the burr can be very well judged by the human being. While cutting also, human being knows whether it is going for an undercut or not, right? Because that is a judgment available with him. Now this judgment, if I want to establish something like a vision system which is there with human being. So identification of burr we try to do using QVision system. Then programmed automatically. Why with this automatic programming? I told you, if objects are changing batch to batch, that is one issue. Second, burr is not fixed. I don't know where burr will come, whether it will come or not. That is also not in. That is also in not in my control. So I cannot guess. It is totally unpredictable. Okay. So we require to program automatically and perform effective deburring to the required level of accuracy. So only programming is not important. We have to ask our robot to do that task with a given accuracy. And since it is a finishing process, you know that accuracy and we want it to be done quickly in minimum time. So this is a setup of the system where we perform our simulation as well as experiments. We do have this robot at our lab. Then we use simple CCD camera. This is the CCD camera. Simple CCD camera we use. We fixed it at one location, right? And this camera is from Soliton, so it comes with its own frame grabber software. Even it has the capability that it can be directly interfaced with MATLAB, right? And then for simulation purpose, this computer is having a Robot Studio software. So we used Robot Studio software. Our simulation is working fine or not. And then we can transfer that program to the robot. Now, first job was identification of burr. So here we relied totally on MATLAB to find out the burr. There are four techniques which we could figure out. First is pattern matching, second is canvas overlapping, third is subtraction, fourth is edge detection. So pattern matching involves matching the pixel intensities of two images to find out the similar part. But it didn't for us. Then we went for canvas overlapping. So one image is overlap on another to find out common features between them. But still we couldn't go with it. But subtraction was subtracted a template and the workpiece. And whatever subtraction we did, we got an image of burr part like this. Also, we tried for edge detection. So, based upon intensity gradients, we detected the edge in the image and its features. So, we could figure out like this. So, from this, here you are seeing a set of points, right? So, this was part of a burr, right? And here, more precisely, you could see these white dots. They are the burrs present on this particular object. So this is the image, and these are the burrs identified from the image. So how subtraction alone work? So we require a master workpiece image and before going for subtraction, we have to filter it, resize it, and then masterpiece image is subtracted from the machine part image. So you can see this was the standard, right? This is the machine part. Standard. This is machined part. I'm sorry, there is some sharing the application. I'll just share it again. So this is the standard workpiece machine part, and then we subtracted them to get the only burr part. So that will give me pixels which are matching to the burr. And in order to calculate the thickness of burr, Rohini developed an algorithm. So what she did, she first converted burr part image into binary image, then calculated the number of iterations, right? And then she started matching the unit matrix of size 2 cross 2, 3 cross 3, and 4 cross 4. And then when she was getting a single dimension of maximum size, then she was mentioning it as a thickness. So that figured out thickness of the burr from the image. Okay. So this the dimension of unit matrix is equal to thickness of the burr. That is she concluded. So this also works very nice. We match this. We try to measure the thickness using coordinate measuring machine, and we figured out that it matches. I will show you the results at the end, but it works. Then once we get the location of the burr as well as thickness of the burr, we wanted to move the robot end effector containing the tool so that this burr can be removed. So in order to find out the trajectory for the robot, we did the the first pass of robot is generated based on inner edge, tool dimension input, and burr, and then we carried out some kind of interpolation also. So during this, you can see this orange color curve like thing, right? This is the burr part. Whereas whatever blue you are seeing, it is actual dimension of the object. Then what we did, we figured out all such burr parts. We extracted the points at a distance of t1 using some matrix search, right? And then this was done till we get all the number of passes. Once we get these coordinates, then it was transformed to world coordinate system, and then it was simulated in Robot Studio. This process is mandatory in order to convert the points from an in system, because reference camera is different as compared to reference for the robot. So this transformation should happen between the coordinates. This is an additional task when you use image processing with robotics. So once we get these XYZ roll pitch coordinates and the roll pitch orientations, then we have to convert them into a transformation matrix. So those who know what is mean by Dynamit-Hartenberg matrix or DH matrix in robotics, they will appreciate these efforts that converting the XYZ to XYZ role PGR to transformation matrix and then using it for the purpose of moving the robot. So this is how she got end effector along which your robot is to be moved. Just try to understand that the area or the space in which your camera is there is different and robot is at different place. In our case, camera was not mounted on the end effector of the robot. It was fixed at certain point because it is not feasible in mining processes like deburring where burrs are or chips are continuously coming out. They'll create interference for the camera. So we kept camera system apart from the robot. This is how we did the mapping. We have here a camera, okay, and here there is a robot. We figured out that a coordinate on a camera will be read by robot in what fashion. And this relationship is established with the help of this transformation matrix. It's a fundamental concept in robotics, but it is very, very useful when we are using two heterogeneous systems to carry out certain industrial tasks. Okay, so we tried to simulate them, and this is the Robot Studio simulation software where we simulated, and same thing we perform on the Robotals here on the Robotals, so we perform. Then it was about two-dimensional burr, right? Two-dimensional burr means we got only two aspects of the burr, so we could measure thickness. But what about the third dimension? That is, whenever I say third dimension, I should have length, breadth, and height or thickness. There I was getting thickness and length. I was not breadth. System. Camera cannot give me third dimension. Camera will always give me two dimensions. So either I should go for the video, take the complete video of the object and then process it in order to find out the dimension. Or another simple system is use the mirrors. So what she did, she put these mirrors at an angle of 45 degree and kept the object in the middle of it. And then she managed to take this angle perfect 45. She went to carpenter, properly prepared that setup and fitted the camera. And then 45-degree projections will be coming on the mirror. And then from that she got how many views? 5 views. Central view, upper part, lower part, left part, and right part. So this is how the image came. Central part, lower, upper, right, and left. And from this projection, she could, when she processed the images which are coming from all the 5 sides, she could find out the thickness as well as height of the bird. So she got thickness from C part and height from the upward portion. Okay, even upward as well as lower image was taken into consideration. So this way she utilized all the few 5 views in order to find out the two dimensions. Right? Then how she calculated height. So for this purpose, image sectioning is done. Then it is filtered using median filter. Those who know image processing, they know that non-linear kind of filter, and it can reduce salt and pepper type of noise from the image. Salt and pepper is the spikes of white or black and gray intensity values. So once you remove these spikes, the image becomes smooth. And then she scanned the matrix, okay, and figured out the height of all 4 images. Our image is giving her highest value that was taken as the height. Now, why matrix scanning? You know that all the digital images are saved in the form of a matrix. So you can carry out row-wise scanning or column-wise scanning in order to get the desired dimension. So she developed her own height calculation algorithm, right? And she figured out the height of the bird. So camera, it gives a gray image. Gray image, it is having intensity values of the pixels between 0 to 255. And then we thresholded those images to get in a binary form. So whatever images we used were the logical images. This everything was done using image processing toolbox of MATLAB. Okay. And then this scanning, searching, it is also done using MATLAB. So she wrote code for that. And since MATLAB is very good for matrix manipulation, you can carry out any kind of algorithm on this. Then for trajectory generation, apart from finding the coordinates, it is important to give direction to the tool and the sequence in which it is going to generate the remove the. So for this purpose, we need to find out the number of vertical passes as well as horizontal passes. So she figured out height of burr and she knows how much depth of cut is to be given. So based on that, figured out vertical passes and then similarly for the horizontal passes. But for horizontal passes, she considered thickness of burr and radius of tool. So for this purpose, we developed an algorithm to generate a trajectory. So first, inner edge of the part is detected. Then perform the curve fitting by using closed curve fitting algorithm. This is required because whenever you detect an edge using any algorithm which is available in MATLAB, image processing toolbox, or OpenCV, they will. Whereas for trajectory generation, you require continuous point, continuous curve. So you don't want discretely placed points. So for that purpose, she went for closed curve fitting algorithm. And then this closed curve is to be smoothened. Also, you will see that at certain locations, the trajectory of the burr part will be zigzag in nature, especially if you see here. It's zigzag. Here also it is zigzag. So it is extracted from the image. So whatever coordinates are coming from the image, same are plotted here. So due to this, what was happening? The robot has to go forward, come back, go forward, come back, right? Backtracking was there. And this tracking is very dangerous for the robot, right? So it was necessary to avoid the backtracking. So for that purpose also, she developed her algorithm. And then after doing this, whatever XY coordinates are extracted, so that data plus the height of top surface of workpiece, that was a Z coordinate. It was saved and this process was repeated till we got the three-dimensional trajectory. Three-dimensional trajectory here means it is having X, Y, Z, all three information in the trajectory. Then obviously what is this closed curve fitting? So it is, we use Canny's edge detection algorithm. It is very famous in machine vision, right? And image processing toolboxes have this. Canny's edge detection algorithm gives you very thin single pixel thickness edges, but they are given in a discontinuous fashion. So one single edge will never come. So for this purpose, we have to go for fitting. So she developed this simple system. So first she figured out the inner edge of the burr part. Then sectioning of inner edge was done. This is to divide the image into 4 quadrants so that we can get the continuity. At the same time, we can get the sense of direction in which your robot should move. So these quadrants are very, very useful in this case. And then she did the curve fitting, right? And after curve fitting, she joined them, and it came something like this after rejoining. But still, you can see after rejoining, there is a wavy pattern, and there is a backtracking. You can see like this, it is going, then coming back, right? And it's open so many zigzag points. So we need to smoothen them. Fine. So she went for clustering also. And she performed this clustering at all the 4 sections. And this was necessary because we wanted sense of direction, and that's why this sectioning played an important role. Okay, then she used Gracia. It's another Garcia is another algorithm to remove this waviness present in the image. So this wavy part, this one, it has become smooth now. This also has become smooth. Why this is wavy? Because we are using edge detection algorithm. We are using computer vision. We are using camera. And from camera, we extract edges. Though it looks continuous to your eyes, camera will not see them as straight edges. Camera will always see them as in terms of pixels. So after smoothing, you can see it is giving me nice edge. And for backtracking point elimination, she also developed an algorithm so that when the robot is moving along this, it will not go in a reverse direction. It will always go in forward direction. Okay. So she developed this as a search based algorithm. Fine. So first she created a search particle and moved it along the smoothened trajectory from starting to end point. And then she figured out the direction vector of each point in a separate variable. If direction vector of a particular location is reversed to earlier point, then it should be eliminated. Otherwise, it should be stored. And then based on that, all the points were plotted. And there we figured out that backtracking is eliminated. It is very simple concept, just based upon the direction vector, we have to do this. Once we get this, we need to transform entire information to the robot. And for that purpose, we have to carry out this inverse kinematics. Okay. So she did use this transformation matrix and the inverse kinematics of 6 degree of freedom IRB 120 robot on which she performed experiments. And the role of inverse kinematics is what? It has to convert end effector to corresponding joint angles of the robot. So it is like robot works in a Cartesian space, but its joints are working in the joint space. It means to ask robot to carry out certain task, you need to move its joints. And what joint understands? It understands rotation of the motor. It means that you require theta value. Joint is not going to understand XYZ roll picture. It's none of its business. Its business is how much rotation is happening to the motor. So what I know XYZ roll picture, which I can visualize with my eyes, right? And I want my robot to reach there. So I need to figure out, in order to reach to this XYZ roll picture, what theta value is given to the robot. This process is called as inverse kinematics. And is a very important process in applying any robot for any industrial application. You cannot skip this process. You have to do this task. That is a mapping between the robot's joint space and robot's workspace. Right? This is how we got the final trajectory. Here we avoided backtracking and also we got the smooth trajectory. It may look wavy somewhere, but that is obvious. It has a burr, no? So it has to remove burr. For that purpose, you require waviness. We are not finding out a trajectory for the nicely smooth edge. We are finding out trajectory for the robot who have to remove burr present on the edge. So we performed this in simulation and we went for some object also, and then we did this thing, actual experimentation to remove the burr on the workpiece. Okay. Now this robot was not capable to hold the cutting forces, so we had to just go for the dry run. We couldn't actually remove the material. This is a desktop kind of robot, a small robot having only 5 kilograms of payload. So it can be used for other purposes, non-contact type of works, but deburring is very heavy on tool, so the amount of cutting forces coming to robot are high. We cannot work on that. But simulation, it worked fine in real time. So to see the validity of algorithms developed for this particular work, what we did, we carried out measurement of the thickness as well as height of a burr using our algorithm as well as using coordinate measuring machine. So we could see that the algorithm is giving nearly similar result as compared to coordinate measuring machine. But I cannot compete with coordinate measuring machine. You know its accuracy, its robustness, and the way it does measurement. They are they are wonderful. So you get very accurate results from CMM. And machine vision system is really a different aspect. It doesn't use any kind of probe or in to measure the height or thickness. But still, we got comparable results. We were happy that whatever algorithm is giving, it is near to CMM. It is not a replacement for CMM, but it is near to the height measurement also. Okay. One word of caution I would like to mention that machine vision systems cannot be deployed as it is to all the locations. You need to configure them, you need to calibrate them, do some adjustments like light arrangements, then reflections, all those things you have to take care, and then only you can use it for your purpose. So, in other words, if you want to use machine vision system, you need to go where illumination is in control. There are no interferences, magnetic interferences, right? And then there is no fluctuation of current to the system which is taking images. The vibrations to the vision system are not getting transferred. So many things are required when you implement this kind of system. We faced such issues when we were doing experiments. So we went for ring LED, then we went for artificial light sources, we went for LEDs. We tried in so many ways to get proper image because entire algorithm depends upon the quality of the image and the information which is coming from the image. Second important aspect here is that in order to ensure repeatability, we have to maintain the condition like lighting conditions, exposure, as well as radiation conditions under control. So we should have a set parameters. Then only it will show repeatability. Okay. You use any kind of camera. We use simple CCD charge coupled device camera. You use any camera, but they do have issue of illumination. That is a universal issue. Even your mobile camera will not behave in a similar fashion under all circumstances, like during day, night, or afternoon, night, or a time or night time. Yeah? So it depends upon the lighting conditions, ambient light as well as the artificial light. So we totally relied on artificial light. We never went for ambient light. And then we covered our system so nicely that we get only a required amount of light at that particular. She put some reflector on the camera and the ring LED so that images will come as per requirement. Okay, so there are so many things apart from algorithms that can be taken care during implementing such system. So if you are thinking that there are so many problems which can be easily solved by vision system, then think twice that how you are going to integrate it with the current scenario. Okay, so while doing all these tasks, we relied only on MATLAB to find out the coordinates, to program the robot, then to generate the trajectory and carry out search in order to find out thickness as the height of the burr. Many places she has done clustering and then some Gaussian mixture model in order to smoothen the edges of the image. So everywhere we relied on MATLAB to get things done. Okay. Okay. So what happened now? Before going for this filtering of trajectory, like backtracking and that. So we got trajectory. We were very happy. We thought, okay, we'll feed it to the robot. We fed to the robot. And due to this backtracking, the kind of vibrations were generated in robot was so tremendous that we could feel it. That robot is actually mounted on a very heavy cast iron tabletop. It's very heavy. 10 people are required to lift that table. And those and it was vibrating, and those vibrations were getting transmitted through base and to our body. So it means the amount of vibrations were very, very high. And there we realized if we go without backtracking algorithm, then this entire task is useless. We have to do something with that. Okay, so this study came up just out of that experience. So when it is not filtered, we observe jerky motion. Okay, and this jerk was also getting transferred to robot also. It is generating by itself and it is getting transmitted to base, and the tool was also vibrating. So we tried to understand the pattern of the vibration. For this purpose, we did power consumption versus time. So this is the power consumption. And what is this power consumption? It is the power taken up by the motors of the robot in order to carry out that trajectory. And we filtered it. So you can see the peaks are less and the power requirement is also on an average. It is not very high like this. Here it was very high. Here it is less. Then we tried energy consumption without with and without filtering. That was power requirement. This is energy consumption. So you can see that non-filtered trajectory is robot is consuming high power when it is moving along non-filtered trajectory as compared to filtered trajectory. Now, these aspects are very, very important. When you say that we are going to implement robot in any industry, we have to think from return of investment point of view. And then second is energy consumption. So just giving a trajectory to robot to carry out task is not sufficient. It should be done in an optimal way. So this optimization can be for minimization of a time, minimization of power required, energy consumed, and so many other aspects. So this is again an important task, and you can see this is also again plot using MATLAB. Then we studied acceleration. And this is very interesting to study that what is the value of maximum acceleration with jerks. So we can see these blue color things, there are huge spikes. Whereas when we did smoothing, the jerks were minimum, and then you can see these spikes. There are manageable range. If I cannot eliminate these vibrations or jerks from the robotic system, then what is the use? Our ultimate goal was the human being who is operating this deburring tool should be safeguarded from the vibrations. It should not affect the human being. Secondly, it should not affect the machines or items which are present in the vicinity of the setup. And that's why when we did this acceleration study, we realized that yes, apart from other aspects, this is also an important thing. So this is the complete generalized algorithm. So it is a full-fledged algorithm now. Instead of explaining it, I will tell you in short what does it mean. So the idea here is you are putting this vision system at certain place away from the robot. Okay, robot and camera system are connected. They are having a common computer. So on a conveyor, when object is coming, the image will be taken by the camera. Grab the image, it will process the image, figure out what is the trajectory to be followed by the tool of the robot, and then by the time this particular object comes in front of robot will be ready with the program. So it can change the program based upon the type of burr or size of burr present on the object. So it is like you are generating a customized program for every part, right? This is advantageous when we are having a low and medium scale kind of industry where we are interested in minimum rejections, fine, and we want that accuracy should be very high. Whereas the processes where mass manufacturing is required, like you are to manufacturing it in bulk, then you cannot use this kind of system. There you can arrange all the objects in certain fixture and allow this grinding tool to move in one particular direction with a specified amount of depth of cut, or a brush kind of deburring tool with a specific value of depth of cut, and ask them to carry out deburring. Then you are not bothered whether burr is present, it is absent, or cutting is being done. Nobody is bothered for that, because there you cannot go for such sophisticated system. Okay, so it is meant for low production and medium size production. And nowadays, you know that people are more interested in customizing the products rather than going for the bulk. Nobody buys. If I bring this LML Vespa in market now, nobody is going to buy older version. New version, yes, everybody is ready to buy. So people are coming up with new bikes, new items, new products, and they come in batches. You don't get that. You can't see its repetition next year also. Next year they come with some kind of improvisation. So why this improvisation is possible now and it was not possible that time? 20, 30 years back, it was not possible. Because we were having fixed kind of automation. Nowadays, nobody talks about fixed kind of mass manufacturing kind of automation. Here also we have product variability. So wherever there is a product variability, this kind of system will be very, very useful. So from this work, we developed this vision assisted system. It can process data as well as images, and it can process any irregular geometry. We tried with all kind of geometries. I showed you only rectangular, but we went for all weird shapes, weird kind of burrs, and weird kind of objects. Size was small, but material, some few aluminium, some were made from rubber, some were made from wood. So we tried on all kind of surfaces, on all kind of weird geometries, and its algorithm was working properly. Then subtract algorithm, height algorithm, we evaluated their performance. We tried to justify that it works fine, and yes, with the help of results coming from CMM, we could do that. So see here, when I'm explaining you, it looks very simple. Like you did subtraction, fine. But to come to that particular point, that subtraction algorithm will work, you need to do loads of groundwork. I showed you only 4 methods, but actually we implemented some 10, 12 methods, and we struggled for 1.5 months to get that particular method, which will work properly. So that process is a learning process. So we learned that these things don't work and figured out which are going to work. Even thickness algorithm, height algorithm is not available in literature anywhere. It is our imagination, it is our you can say thought process and the kind of discussions we had. So using intuition, using your knowledge about computer vision, we figured out this algorithm. Then close curve fitting. Now this never came to mind before facing the issue with actual robot. Because in mostly whatever applications we did till that time were open kind of trajectories like spray painting, pick and place, okay, and then uh, handling different kind of different sizes of objects. So such activities we perform beforehand. But this was a time where we have to think about the closed loop kind of trajectory. So you might have also done open loop kind of trajectories, but closed loop is especially for such applications. Okay, and you need to do that so that entire contour of the workpiece will be covered. If it is not so, then it becomes difficult to program robot also. Robot, whatever we use, utilizes a rapid language. So we need to carry out programming in that. So there we understood the importance of close curve fitting. Even if you do curve fitting, you will be having both ends open. You don't want to come back to the same starting point. In any course you do or any work you do open curve fitting. You have a data cloud and you just fit curve to it. But here it was like it should come back to the start position, and this returning path or this entire loop should be followed in such a way that entire contour will be curved. So position and direction both were important. And we saw that while deburring using dummy tool, the jerk free motion and less power consumption. This was the additional stuff we did because it is an implementation issue. So we learned from the experience that how bad it can go if this backtracking is not eliminated. And this backtracking issue will come only because it is a closed loop system. It will not come in open loop systems. If it comes also, you can neglect that point and bypass it. Whereas in closed loop system, you have to be very careful to bypass a point. Otherwise, your robot will not reach to destination, or it will not cover entire contour. It will take a shortcut and come. We don't want that to happen. We want that it should complete entire contour. So there we learned a lot. From this, we concluded and we had some future scope also. And with this future scope, my another research scholar, Rahul, he is working and he's trying to give new dimension to the system using machine learning and deep learning algorithms. So there we have to rely minimum on the images and maximum on the learning concept. So he's working in that particular area. But this system is whatever Rohini developed is so nice that the when we discussed this with few industries, they liked it, and then we filed a patent also because the entire system is new one. You might be getting few such system now in the literature, but back then in 2016-17, it was not there. So this is what. Then if we realize that mirror system, if we make it big and adjustable, flexible kind, then we can accommodate bigger objects also. But that will become again a fixed system, so we didn't go for that. And then we come up with another idea that instead of taking images only five side image, what we can do, we can make a structure on which cameras will be mounted, and then we have to take a peripheral image of the object and carry out image stitching, and from that we can figure out the bursts. So that is also another very good application, and that device also we have developed. Now we are testing on that whether stitching gives us a good result or not. And this is is applicable for small objects, whereas whatever setup we have developed, it is applicable for bigger objects. And it is going to take images using 2 or 3 cameras, so multiple views at certain orientation will be available. Now computer vision algorithms are tremendously developed, and we can use them the way we want, so we can exploit them, and that's why this image stitching came to our mind. And then you know that in deep learning, you don't need to teach features to the computer system. Just give images, and this fellow uses some kind of convolutional neural network or other neural networks and tries to learn feature by itself and gives you output. So we are just trying to figure out how to use this system in industry, where entire learning will be done beforehand and then it can be put in production. So that will be the outcome of PhD work. So this much I wanted to share with you from deburring perspective. I hope we have time for questions. Yeah, we have sufficient time for questions. Sir Gupta sir, I'm
Yes.
open for questions now.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, madam, for the elaborate session on deburring, how you are going to monitor and what are the methodologies, what they have used to implement in industries also. So the session is open for discussion. I can unmute all. So like now you can ask questions actually. One by one. You can unmute, means you can unmute yourself and you can ask question.
Or you can type in chat box also.
Yeah,
so
that
we
is
can
also possible.
access.
You can write in the
Yeah.
chat box also. Is there any other question or okay, madam? There is a query in the chat box.
How this is useful in Industry 4.0? Yes. The main objective of Industry 4.0 is to build up the cyber physical system. So this is a very good example of cyber physical system. You are making everything in an autonomous way, where the image is taken for the object, its burr position and trajectory is calculated. It is fed to robot changes its program and carry out the deburring with the help of that program. Now, if you want to intervene, you can intervene remotely, or even if you allow this system to work, it will work of its own. You don't require human intervention. And then this can be integrated with the with your other manufacturing systems also. For example, here we are using image subtraction. Now suppose there is a change in the batch. Another batch of product is coming. The product in first batch and second batch is different. So beforehand you can communicate with the system which is monitoring deburring. It will generate the template from the CAD file, and then that will be utilized for the next batch. So you can develop a kind of communication between your another manufacturing unit or your supply unit. So your warehouse can also be connected with this system.
There is one more question. How it will be useful in examination for performation in micro holes?
Yeah, so micro holes will be a challenge for this kind of system. We have to go for laser cameras. We cannot go for normal CCD cameras. Okay, so laser-based cameras can be comfortably utilized for this particular purpose. Again, taking an image of a micro hole and processing it, you need to totally rely on the image grabbing system. If that is reliable, then it is fine. Otherwise, I don't think it will be very useful in that case.
Any other question? But in that case, you have to take image as the reference every time before, like if you
Yeah,
have.
so that image can be either taken as a reference part image, or we can take a CAD file.
CAD file is also.
Yes, CAD file can be easily converted into an image, and that can be used for the reference purpose.
But can this give the volume of burr, madam?
Yes, it can give volume. I just need to do some calculation. I can find out the volume because thickness is there, height
Okay.
is there.
Height is there.
Length can be identified from the coordinates.
Okay. Ashok is planning to ask something, it seems. Ashok, your mic is on. Madam, there is one question in the same Ashok only. Can we do this by taking SEM images? He is asking.
Yes, SEM images can also be processed. Those also can be processed. See, as soon as you give me image in the form of a grayscale or in the form of a binary image, it can be processed using any image processing software.
Right.
It is independent of imaging device.
Okay, okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
Any other question? Okay, if you have any question, so means I'll be sharing the, I told you, no, I'll be sharing the contact details, email addresses of all the speakers. You can write to madam if at all you have any query, and you can be in touch if you want to really work in that image processing area and the artificial intelligence or the robotic motion planning also. So madam has two different robots, I think. Two only, no madam? Two robots, yeah. Two robots.
Two robots are
Two robots are there. And there is a center of excellence, Siemens Center of Excellence, which is coming at VNIT. And this is all because of Madam only. She is the coordinator for the Siemens Center of Excellence.
Yeah, and I would like to add that this center is focusing majorly on Industry 4.0 and digitalization. So you can see digital twin, and you can see 5-axis CNC machine where TVK Gupta sir will be involved because he is expert in manufacturing. So this is coming up, and by February or so, it will be completely set up at VNIT. So if this pandemic permits us, we can invite all of them to see over there.
Yeah, definitely. Right. If you don't have any queries, let us thank the speaker. Thank you very much, madam. Thank you very much for your time and efforts which you have kept in understanding the. Okay, somebody is only thanking you. Okay. Okay, madam. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
And the participants, make sure that we will be meeting tomorrow for the, there is, according to the Atal, you have to do the meditation and art of living program also for one session. So we will be there by tomorrow 9:30 we are going to start. And later it will be followed by Dr. G. Sarvan Kumar from IIT Madras. He will be talking about MATLAB, how you can use MATLAB for CAD and topology optimization. So in the later part of the tomorrow session after lunch, post lunch, we will be talking about Dr. Abhishek Jha. He was also a student of Dr. Sheetal Chittarwar only. So he will be talking about something related to MATLAB. So how you can use, he will be explaining to opening the MATLAB, and he will explaining all the things, how you can do the optimization, those things using MATLAB. And after Dr. Abhishek Jha, Mr. Rahul Mali, he is our own group PhD student. He will be talking about freeform surface machining. So if you have any queries, we can discuss. Otherwise, we can leave now. And tomorrow's session links I will be sharing you by maybe around an hour or so. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. So I'll end this session.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.